Palestinian neighborhood in Haifa. There's about 10,000 Palestinians that live in this neighborhood. It's a very historical neighborhood, like Wadi Salib. It's the heart of the Palestinian community. All the schools are there, also the market, also the strong community bases, organizations, civil society. Okay, so it's the most important, let's say it's the heart of the Palestinian community in Haifa. But as I told you before, the poorest neighborhoods in Haifa are the Palestinian neighborhoods. So Wadi Nisnas is very, very poor neighborhood. 10,000 people, community residents who live there, and they live under the poverty line. They are also their houses. 60% of Wadi Nisnas belongs to the state. So people live there under a law. It's called the protected tenants law, and it talks about that you can live as a tenant in this historical building that is owned by the state, and you pay small amount of rent, but you have no rights to heritage the ownership of the building. You can live there as a protected tenant. Okay, so you can live there as a protected tenant and to pay a small amount of rent, but you can't. First, the state, according to the law, they can evacuate you if they want to do a project for the public interest. Yeah. So you can see that there's a huge amount of these buildings were erased, and also in Wadi Nisnas there's a 24% of Wadi Nisnas. So 24% of Wadi Nisnas residents got an evacuation warrants. Yeah. And because there's a magical circle that the state does with us in this issue. You are poor. You live in a house that it's not in your ownership. In the same time, this is an historical house. So, and the state doesn't renovate this house. So, through the years, the house becomes to be dangerous. And according to the law, if you live in a dangerous house, the municipality has to evacuate. So, and they start to do this evacuation process because you are poor and you can't renovate. You can't afford the prices of the renovation, especially the historical renovation, because there's a lot of criteria and very strict criteria how to renovate a historical building. So this is the circle that they do. You live in a house that you don't own and you can't own. And if I want to buy the house that I live in, they don't sell it to me. They sell it in the free market to investors through, they sell it as a compounds. For example, they sell 50 housing units, 40 housing units, 60 housing units, not one housing unit. And this way, only investors can enter the auction. Yeah. So through this process, the building becomes to be dangerous. So they have to evacuate me. So Wadi Salib, 10,000 people, 60% they are protected tenants, and according to the law, the protected tenant law, according to this law, you can't heritage, as the third generation can't heritage the rights of his grandfathers. For example, if I live in this historical building as a protected tenant, I can give the rights, the protected tenant rights, to my children only if they lived with me 6 months before I died. Okay? Wow. And they can heritage these protected tenants, but they can't give these rights generation has no rights in this, also as a protected tenant. So now in Wadi Nisnas, we are in the third generation. So we see that there's a huge negative immigration out of Wadi Nisnas. People go out, young couples mainly, because they can't heritage the rights of their parents of this protected tenant. So, and at the same time, the state sell out these huge housing units to the free market. So you can see that there are parallel patterns. Yeah? At the same time, and the game here that the state say, okay, now you are in the free market, and the free market there's no discrimination because the free market is free. And this is the game. This is how the capitalist system is combined with the ideological ethnic exclusion. So we can see that the free market actually excludes us totally because we are the poorest, we are not organized, we have no information about the auctions, we have no connections inside these offices. At the same time, the whole the auctions are in compounds, are in 50 housing units, 30 housing units. That me for example, as a young couple, I can't go to enter these auctions. So this is also a huge problem of our historical neighborhoods, that the tenants today has no rights, housing rights, and at the same time, the municipality doesn't plan. Oh, the